Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's 12 noon to 4 p.m. Eastern. We are here live, simulcasting the last 2 hours today in living color at prisonplanet.tv. We're fighting the creation of a prison planet. Multiple-time best-selling author of Confessions of an Economic Hitman and now The Secret History of the American Empire. Forgot this little bestseller. The new one's coming out very, very soon, and that is Hoodwinked. John Perkins, tell us specifically, then we'll get into all these other issues, about Hoodwinked, when it's coming out, what it covers.
It comes out November 10th, Random House, and it's, what really generated it was the current recession. And my sense that all of the stuff that we're talking about, AIG, Wall Street, the banks, the auto industry, trying to deal with all of that is triage. It's putting Band-Aids on wounds, and we need the Band-Aids to a certain degree because there's a lot of hemorrhaging going on. We've got to stop. But what we really need to look at is the root cause beneath the system, beneath the surface, and that is systemic. And it's something that nobody's really looking at very hard. To me, this is a mutant form of capitalism that's been going on for about the last 30 years. And that's the real problem. We must change that. Sure, we need Band-Aids, but we need to go much, much deeper than that. Capitalism's been around for about 400 years. It's taken many, many different forms. And in the last 30 years, really, since the time of Reagan, and this has happened under both Democrats and Republicans, but it really started with Reagan, it's taken this trend toward this very mutant viral form of capitalism, which is extremely greedy and extremely self-destructive, ultimately. It's really the form of capitalism that came out of Milton Friedman, the economist from the University of Chicago, and Reagan bought into it big time, and every president since has bought into it.
Well, wasn't the coup de grace in 99 with the Glass-Steagall Act that Bill Clinton got rid of?
That was a big one. There's no question about it. But that's just sort of like the frosting on the cake. There was so much going on. Yeah, acts that when I went to business school in the late '60s, Alex. God, I hate to think it was so long ago, but when I went to business school in the late '60s, all my professors said there can never be another depression like the one in the '30s because we've enacted all these rules to prevent it. Well, that was true. But then we changed all that, and Glass-Steagall under Clinton was a huge part of it. But there were a whole slew of them that changed, and a whole lot of attitude toward money and usury rates. Under George Bush, we had huge increases in interest rates that people had to pay. Credit cards went up to 35%. This would have been
now they allow over 30%. That's supposed credit card reform. I mean, that's above loan sharking.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's way beyond the laws. Never would have permitted this before. After the recession, we implemented usury laws that didn't permit that, but then those all changed. There's actually some people are paying 800% on their debt. These are the people that have what we call the payday loans. You can go in before you actually get your paycheck and get a loan on the expected paycheck, and those are huge interest rates, and they're legal.
Amazing. Well, the book is coming out on November 11th, correct, John?
November 10th.
Okay, so November 10th.
Close enough.
and we've got you scheduled for the 11th then. Good.
Oh, good.
Fantastic. They just handed me a note saying he is scheduled for November 11th when it comes out. So my producer was wrong by 1 day. So it's coming out November 10th. Now I agree with a lot of what you have to say. Later in the interview, I want to get into, maybe somewhat of a debate about economic systems and choices. But I think what we agree on is this crony capitalist system, this mutant form of capitalism. I just call it piracy. I mean, if they can just create trillions in made-up derivatives and then have the central governments bail them out when they're using the money to then go loan it at loan sharking rates to third world countries, third world people, the American people. I mean, that's sick. We give them the government-backed loans. They then leverage it, fractional reserve it, and then we pay interest to the banks on our money they loan back to us. I mean, is that a good way of boiling it down?
That certainly is, and it is piracy. There's no question about it. And we must turn it around, Alex. And that's really a large part of Hoodwinked is what we can do, what you and I and all your listeners can do. We can take control of this. One of the things that we have to understand is that big corporations, the banks and the other corporations that are behind this, are very beholden to us. They only exist because we give them business. We buy their goods and services, or we allow our tax dollars and our government to go into that. There are many ways to resist, and I think it's terribly important that we do that now. We must turn this thing around. You know, what we have to realize in all of this is that this economic crisis is basically telling us that we have a failed system, totally failed, on a global basis. Less than 5% of the world's population live in the United States, and we consume more than 25% of the world's resources. That's a failure. It's not a model that you can give to China or India or Latin America or Africa. You need another 5 or 6 planets with all our resources and no people to be able to use this as a model for other people. So what we're seeing is a totally failed system. And we must understand that for our sake, for our children's sake, and our grandchildren's sake, we have to turn this around. We have to come up with a very, very different system.